Let's turn to football right now. Tony Romo's contract is being restructured.
I was going to give you a chance to respond to my dad, Tony, since you were the one who
Well, we'll do that with Chris Dempsey.
Okay.
All right, so Tony Romo is having his contract restructured. And the Cowboys are going to...
A little late, don't you think?
Well, maybe not. The Cowboys are going to save about $12 million under the cap by doing this restructuring. Guess who's going to make a little over $12 million this year in his contract with the Minnesota Vikings?
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. So there are rumors that the Cowboys have done this and Romo has allowed them to do it. Romo's not happy that DeMarco Murray got away, but Romo would be really happy if the Cowboys went out and got Adrian Peterson. And as we know, Peterson is in this stare down right now with the Minnesota Vikings. He doesn't want to play there anymore. They might have to deal him. And if they do, it looks like the Cowboys want him. What does this do for the Cowboys as a contender, not just in the NFC, but as a Super Bowl contender?
Well, I've given you credit for a lot of things you brought up. I mentioned to you immediately after the courts had ruled that the Vikings had to take him back, that the place for him to go is the Dallas Cowboys. They've already proven they'll take retrobates and miscreants.
Greg Hardy, yeah. Yeah, you did say a couple of weeks ago that this was coming down the pike.
He's from Texas. So it's a perfect situation. Tim Calishaw, who is one of my peers on Around the Horn, wrote a column today. I don't know if you've seen it, but saying you got to go after Adrian Peterson. I mean, you've already established what you are. I mean, it's not like you were the cleanest franchise in terms of players you bring up and bring here. I mean, they've had a history of having guys like most clubs that have gotten into trouble. They had an offensive lineman that was found with a trunk full of marijuana. So, I mean, it's not like they've been the cleanest franchise in the history of the world. As you remember extremely well, I'm sure, even though they were called America's team, there was a case where they were called South America's team, kind of pointing to the fact that they had a lot of drug charges. And you remember a guy who's a famous wide receiver was keeping a house of ill repute.
You can say his name, Michael Irvin. And they called it the White House.
Yeah.
Because it was white.
And that's where they took ladies of the evening and the afternoon and the morning.
And the morning and everything in between.
So the Cowboys have not been, what would you call a really, because Aaron Hernandez, and I'm following that trial every day. If you ever want any information on that, I can tell you everything that's going on in that trial. You can't say the Patriots are a clean franchise. Robert Kraft is clean owner, but I don't think he knows all the stuff.
I think every franchise has its problems.
Well, that's what I.
There are character issues on every roster.
I was trying to think of one. Yeah. What franchise would you say? Because the Cincinnati Bengals went through their era where they were the. They had
a 2 or 3 year period where it seemed everybody was getting arrested.
So I would say that I can't think of a franchise that hadn't had issues and players with issues.
No, they've all had them.
So. What does it matter with the Dallas Cowboys?
I don't know if it makes them much better. DeMarco Murray ran for 1,800 yards last year, and Romo had a career year. So why would Adrian Peterson make them any more a contender than DeMarco Murray and Romo made them last year?
Well, if you remember correctly, he beat some guy named Manning out for MVP 2 or 3 years ago. So I think he's well rested from last year. He didn't get to play the full year. I think that Adrian Peterson, for a long time, was the best running back in the NFL. If you're the Cowboys, why not do a 1-year kind of deal? You did that with Hardy.
And Darren McFadden ain't the answer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.